All right, well, we're back at it again here. We're picking up on this podcast. We're talking about maximizing your ROI on a digital marketing budget. And that budget could be large or small, depending on a bunch of different variables. But I think we're touching on today maybe in a down economy. Uh,
Right.
Josh, I want you to introduce yourself.
Yeah. I'm Josh with CI Design and specialize in search engine optimization and digital marketing for small business owners. So excited to talk about something that is affecting all of us this year, and we'll see how things go for the next quarter. But yeah, we'll just talk through some ideas for running digital marketing campaigns on a limited or squeezed budget because of the economic downturn we're in right now.
Yes. And so I am TJ with Studio 490 Digital Marketing. I feel that Josh and I have been working together for a number of years. I thought it'd be a
Yeah.
great thing to have us kind of do a collab on a podcast about things that probably Josh and I talk about in separate meetings pretty a lot throughout the years. And so
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
makes sense. I'm not sure why one of us didn't think of do this sooner, but
I know, right?
but looking at your studio has inspired my wife to ask me over the
Yeah.
holidays to fix the wall behind us
There
here
you go.
to be better. So thanks a lot, Josh, for that. So,
You're welcome. A little painting job for you.
so again, this is for everybody out there. There's kind of like, well, what do I do? How do I spend the budget that I have? And when
Yeah.
Josh and I were talking about this, we're like, what if we just kind of talk about like maybe if we had to determine what a budget would be, let's just say a nice round number of $1,000.
Okay.
That's not unheard of. That seems to be very low end for some businesses, and it seems to be outlandish for others. But
Right.
it's something for us to talk through. And so, in our first segment here, we're talking about the challenge of limiting budgets. Josh, what have you seen when it comes to businesses struggling to set up a budget, and how are you helping them work with that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it comes down to setting our priorities. What's most important for the business at this current at your current stage? So are you literally starting from scratch? You don't have any leads or any kind of sales going right now, or are we uh, sales are running fine for one aspect of the business or a certain service, and we have a new one? Whatever it is, we need to first of all sit down and think through what is our top priority. Do we need new leads right now, or are we so new that brand awareness is important? Or are we talking about retaining current customers or upselling current customers?
Yeah.
So kind of focusing on one of those will help you then determine which channel or which type of marketing you should be doing. There's lots of different digital marketing types. So we'll get into that in just a second, but that's the first thing that I would say. What about you, TJ? Do you ask them those questions also?
I was reading through that today and I read that statement, those three options, and I'm like, man, what a great question.
Right,
Because obviously it's easier, it's 7 times harder to go find a new lead than talking to an existing lead.
right.
And most of our clients have been with us for over 15 years.
Hmm.
So customer retention is big for us.
Right,
And I think our clients like that we spend time in training, learning what's up ahead, thinking around corners. But
right,
I love the other part too, the brand awareness, because I think people maybe don't spend enough time carving out, uh, building their brand to their existing audience and to a new audience. They just
right,
well, the yes, we're open sign is turned out isn't that enough? And it's
hmm,
not. And then leads are the sometimes the hardest thing to get. We feel like we get
right,
so many emails from people, we can guarantee you 10 to 30 leads a month.
right.
So getting the quality leads that we all want, I think, is always a challenge. And I think what makes it difficult is that people don't know where to start, how to start, how long is it going to take, and how much it's going to cost.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Well, so the first thing, if you sit down and determine, I would say if you're just starting, you have a brand new business, brand awareness is obviously your goal.
Yeah.
Leads is if you're trying to expand into either different service areas or again, you're brand new and we just need some leads for that. So brand awareness and leads can kind of come hand in hand, but
Mhm.
you still want to differentiate between the two and make sure that you set your priority. Once we've done that, we can get into how much can we realistically spend per month. And for this podcast, we're just gonna assume that you have at least $1,000 per month to spend.
Right. Right.
Um, so we can then start breaking it down into the different types of categories. So let's just say that, um, let's say leads is our priority and we have $1,000 per month. Now we need to talk about, okay, what type of business are you? Are you selling products online? Are you selling digital products, physical products, or are you a service provider? The reason that's important is because if we're focused on, what did I say? Did I say leads or brand awareness?
Leads. Leads.
If we're focused on leads and we're selling products online, if it's a product that people know exists or that they could buy it. So let's say you're selling, what's a good like product
How
example?
about BMX bikes?
Yeah. Okay.
We
If you're
know that's near and
selling,
dear.
yeah. You got brand new BMX bikes. Someone like myself, I know that BMX bikes exist. So I'm going to go on Google and I'm going to look for best BMX bikes for beginners, right? Or I'm experienced, I want like a high-end BMX bike. So Google or SEO as a marketing channel is best suited for something, a product or a service that people know they can look for on Google. If you have a new product, like maybe you're a artist and you're selling some of your art, nobody knows you exist yet. Maybe your art like supports a certain nonprofit cause or something. And so you with that, social media Facebook or Instagram, TikTok could be a better channel for you to be focusing that money on, right? Um, and then for customer retention, we're probably looking at email campaigns or ads. You can do ads on either Google or Facebook. Um, the retargeting ads to retarget people who have already been on your site or shown interest in those products. So those are like the different types of categories. That's usually what I get into with someone when we're having this conversation. Um, and from there you can then start to curate that and then determine which channel you're going to target.
We tend to touch on a little bit that as well as we start talking about their pain points, right?
Yeah,
And because they're experiencing something, whether it be a challenge to uh, get this art out, get the
right.
right audience, but you want to talk about what are those goals? Like if you're looking to move, 10 of these a month, looking,
Yep.
do you paint art that is $100 a piece, or do you paint art that's $10,000 a piece?
Right.
But determining what your audience or your goals are helps determine what kind of ads or what kind of mediums you're looking to you should
Right.
use to promote. Because we're big on that spoken wheel
Yep.
method, where your website is the hub and all these different
Right.
spokes. And it could be ads, it could be SEO, email, social media, and
Yeah.
your audience might be on several of them, but your target audience might be on one or two of those. And so,
Right.
as Josh had said, you kind of, as you start talking about some of these mediums, these
Right.
categories, you may find that one allows you to reach a target audience that can't afford, that is the price
Right.
thing for $10,000 art.
Right. Yep.
Some tend to be more of that $100 art. And so finding what you're looking to, sell to who and
Yep.
where to do it, I think is a big, big thing.
Yeah, yeah. And one other thing, I love the spoken wheel I example. One of the other things that a lot of a pain point that you're talking about, cost per acquisition is huge. And so, like you said, is your painting $10,000 or is it $100? Is the BMX bike $500 or is it a $3,000 custom bike? You as the business owner need to determine your ceiling for if all your marketing, if you spend $1,000 and you sell 10 bikes but you literally make no profit on that, then you know, let me say it this way, actually, the different marketing channels or mediums, some of them are more expensive than others.
Sure.
So for example, Google and Google Ads knows that people searching on Google have a much higher intent. They're a hotter lead in that sense. And so Google Ads are a lot more expensive than Facebook ads.
Yes.
So another thing to help you or something to think about is when you're choosing how to spend that $1,000, um, find out or think about where that audience is, but also determine if that medium is affordable within your $1,000. Maybe we can't spend, maybe $1,000 is too little for Google ads. And so why don't we focus on some social media ads or an email campaign or organic SEO because it's cheaper than Google ads. So it comes down to like how aggressive you want to be and also what's gonna be your cost per acquisition, something else to definitely consider.
Yeah, that's a great point because we had a client, a lead, come to us last year, and they were a financial advisor,
Yeah,
and they said, "Yeah, we want to, kind of compete with the Edward Joneses and the Charles Schwabs out there, the Fisher Investments."
sure.
Like, great. So we started doing a little bit of research, and once they found out that some of these ad budgets were starting at six figures, like 100,000 a month, 800,000 a month, they
Right.
realized they could not compete with that. And so, not only finding your price point of your product is important, but finding where you can promote that because you're right. Google Ads, as we refer to deep into the pool, it's going to be more a higher intent, but it's a little more expensive sometimes, very
Exactly.
competitive on some clicks.
Right.
Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever ad platform you're thinking of, maybe even Pinterest, if you're
Yeah.
on like cushions or drapes or whatever,
Yep.
finding
Yep.
a platform and then also seeing what it costs to advertise. That's a
Yeah.
big thing because in our scenario of $1,000 a month, you may
Yeah.
find that like some of these, like on that example, that investment company, some of these clicks were $100 a click.
Yep.
And so,
Yep.
you have
Yeah.
$1,000, it's only 10, and that's per month. So
Right.
you may need to start off with um, doing some ads in a platform that has a little bit lower
Yeah.
buy-in, but also know that even on social ads, they do give you the ability to target some demographics so that you can get in front of that target audience. It's just a little bit different, not as
Right.
controlled. The Google ad piece is very granular. And
Right.
so some of the social media stuff is a little bit less than that.
It's true. Yeah. Social media, I think what you're saying is it has your demographic targeting, like interest and like targeting. It's a little more broad in that sense.
Yeah.
Although I will say that definitely social media ads have more user intent and user engagement or interest and likes targeting than Google Ads does. Google Ads is more keyword based, geographic based, and some demographic based, but it's mostly keywords drive your most intent. Whereas social media like Facebook and Instagram, you can target people based on other accounts they've shown interest in, a similar product, similar topics, those types of things. They have that, which is a little more than what Google has, but for different reasons, obviously. So, so yeah, that's a great point, you know.
And it's
Um,
challenging too. I understand that, you and I were just talking recently about Google Ads,
right.
and you can see that. if you are a small business owner and you're selling radios, I mean,
Yeah.
your whole world is around, running the business, selling radios, trying to be profitable, hit benchmarks, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
All of a sudden, you run smack into a recession or a pandemic or whatever the thing is
Yep.
that's going to cause a downturn in the economy.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when the economy is great, there's still down seasons of the year. Where
Yep.
sometimes some industries are very cyclical, and
Yep.
so finding a way to adjust your budget. In our notes here, we have, I love that
Yeah.
budgets are a living document because
Right.
people kind of show up with, okay, well, I got that, $1,000 budget. That's our analogy here, but they show up and like, I only want to spend $100 a month. That's what I
Yeah.
want to spend. And they've done no research onto, well, your competition dictates you need to spend at least $500 a month to compete.
Right.
And so I
Yeah.
think it's really good to be a little bit flexible when it comes to your budget within reason.
Right.
I get it, there's a
Right.
maximum, but I think doing some research or allowing someone like Josh to help you
Yeah.
do research on determining what a good budget is for, say, a Google ad campaign is
Right.
key because you may be just like that financial advisor. You
Yeah.
don't know what you don't know, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden realize there's some very big fish out there, and you may
Yep.
not be able to compete right now.
Right. Right. 100%.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, it's definitely, I mean, doing more, I love this quote, doing more with less is not about working harder, but about working smarter with the resources that you do have. And so these things to think about that we've just talked about and just understanding, do some research on the difference between, Google and social media and your audience, because, if you're working smarter instead of just assuming, I think what happens in today's age is a lot of people assume. I get this all the time. Somebody will come to me and they're actually just buying a website, and they're like, "Do I have to have? Can you set up Facebook and Instagram for me and Twitter and this or that? And we have to be on everything." No, you don't have to be on everything. In fact, I don't care. You don't even have to make a Facebook page for your business to start making money.
Sure.
Now, somebody will quote me on that, like take it out of context, but
But
you it you can laser focus. You don't have to spread yourself thin on everything.
sure.
You can test things too. See, there was one other note we had. Oh, that's actually on our next segment. So, just testing a couple different channels, or it's not the worst idea to focus on one thing at a time, see
Yeah.
what's working best, and then circle back to it and improve or expand from there.
Yeah, because the worst thing you could do, and I've seen this recently, posting, like say social media, posting every day is not a social strategy. That
Right. Yep.
it's just busy work, right?
Yep.
If you're going to do that, that's fine, but being
Right.
strategic about that and being on the right
Yeah.
platform,
Yeah.
just being on a platform because it's there. At the,
Yep.
if your audience is not on Threads or X or
Right.
TikTok, then don't play in that area. Focus where your audience is, and then do
Right.
that well. And
Yeah.
so, like
Yeah.
Josh said, you might find that you launch your website and you simply do maybe Facebook and say LinkedIn. And we're big
Yep.
into maybe diversifying because remember,
Yeah.
uh, we are renting space on some of these platforms. Like you don't own your space on Facebook. That is something
Sure.
that Facebook gives you to use. So
Right.
if they change policy, you're at their whim. If it
Yep.
goes down, kind of thing.
True.
The same thing about sometimes there is a web builder that it's all inclusive. Well, they may
Yep.
do a great work. You are married to that. So sometimes it's
Very true.
important to think about what tools you're using
Right.
and where you need to be focused your efforts on. And it is not everywhere because
Yeah.
no matter what Gary Vaynerchuk says, I cannot post 30 times a
Yeah.
day. And so,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the other thing, like I actually I was just talking to a guy a couple days ago that has been he hired a website designer, and they sold him a package where they he's a he's a writer, so he has a blog. He's just a blogger, and they told him that they were going to post on Facebook every day for him, which they do. But they literally are just taking one of his blog posts and they drop it in ChatGTP and it cuts it up into 50 different posts, and then they're just automatically scheduling those. Now, that's just vanity work, right? It makes that company or the guys that he hired, they look good because they look like they're doing a lot of work, but it's
Sure.
doing nothing for him, right? He's got, 400 or 500 people that like the Facebook page. Something a lot of people don't know about Facebook, while when you post on your page, that post, I call them organic Facebook posts. They only are being shown to the people who like your page, but Facebook will actually only show that post to them if they engage with your page on a regular basis. So if the first time that post shows up in their feed, if they don't like it or click on it, it just shoots to the bottom really quickly. After a while, Facebook doesn't even show your post to your followers anymore because they're not engaging with it. So that whole idea of posting every day, it's not a Facebook strategy. Quantity does not beat quality when you're posting on Facebook. Now, you do need to teach the algorithm a little bit, like Facebook's algorithm. You do want them to see that you post consistently. So
Consistently.
consistency is important, but not quantity, if that
Right.
makes sense. So again, working smarter, not harder. Just because you figured out how to use ChatGTP and you can make a million posts doesn't mean it's gonna do anything for you. You may actually just be wasting more time. So strategy is should be prioritized.
Well, that's a good segue into our second segment. So hang on
Yeah.
while we kind of regroup,
Yeah.
take a sip of coffee, let me get juiced up, and we'll be back for our second segment.
Sounds good.
These are good natural stopping points, so I'll take and
Yeah,
put a clap there for Josh, but I'll look for it.
that's a good idea. I should probably do that more. Even like when I record some of my other videos, I'll just be like, I'm gonna burn through the whole thing and I don't take a break. Like I'll just talk. And then when I went to edit it, I'm like, man, I don't where am I? Like I keep
Iron Mine on this here. So yeah,
yeah,
I learned that from a guy years ago. Every time we would start shooting, he'd always clap. And then
right.
years ago, Josh is like, because it creates this spike on the
Yeah,
timeline, so you can see it visually. So
right.
all right, Josh, well, here you go. Here's your second one. All right, so we're jumping into our segment two, which was a great segue of balancing time and money.
Hmm.
Uh, Balancing time and money is crucial when running a business, as many of us feel like we don't have enough of either.
Yeah,
As years pass, you'll have to adapt to that ever-changing business landscape.
yeah,
And I know, if you're a business owner and you're hearing that, your eyes are just rolling around in your head like, "If I'm not changing my website, or I
right,
have time for that." Every time we talk to a client, and we don't use it as a sales tool, but we give them the stat of, because the way the internet moves so quickly with
right.
development of new techniques and best practices, the average website they say is 2.8 years, which is crazy.
Sure.
We don't build websites that like don't perform in 2.8 years.
Right.
I believe if you're at that 3 to 4 year range, it's time
Hmm.
for a refresh. If you're
Right.
past 5 years, it's time for a redesign.
Yeah. Yeah.
But kind of talking about balancing time and money, because what people usually do is they will develop something like a social campaign or a website, and they
Right.
just finish it and they never touch it for years.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
for websites, these things become like just frozen in time. They're completely out of date after 6 months. And then
Right.
a social campaign, we refer to those as bunches and gaps. You uploaded 50 images within about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Then you took
Mhm.
about 4.5 months off, and then it shows that you guys still in business. So
Right.
you said in the last segment, consistency. That's what we
Right.
feel like we bring to our clients when it comes to social media,
Yeah.
consistent strategic activity. So
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Um, and the um Well, actually, no, that was fine. Um, I forget what I was gonna say. So go
Yeah.
ahead, TJ.
Yeah, yeah. So we're in that section of maybe we broke it up into how we spend money. Our next one is how
Right,
we spend time. So in this section here, focus on what works. Uh, if you are of the school of thought, I'm going to take and jump into these 8 different areas: web, social, email, all these platforms.
yeah,
I think you're probably going to see that some of them are more effective than others. You
right,
may feel that none of them really stand out because, well, you've scattershot your activity and
right,
you're not stepped into any one of these in a strategic, meaningful way.
right,
If you do start to focus on one or two, focus on what works. If you find
right.
your audience responds to behind the scenes kind of videos like this, maybe, or
Hmm.
talking points of how to use a marketing budget or
Right.
what's coming up down the line. We've been
Yeah,
talking about other topics throughout our blog articles
yeah,
throughout the year.
yeah.
And I think we find that some things work better than others. And I don't know if business owners always feel like they have the time to see what
Right.
actually works and focus on that.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I remember what I was going to say too. You were talking about the life cycle or lifetime period, the life of the
Yeah,
website, which actually kind of also is what we're talking about here, where which channel has brought you the most leads so far. Well, part of that, like you said, a website, when you're a business owner and the first time you build a website or have someone design one for you, you'll sometimes it just takes so much work to get it to look the way you want it to the first time around. You're like, okay, it took us, a couple months to build this site. It looks great, it works great. I can't imagine circling back to that and making changes to it. We just got it looking the way we wanted it to,
right.
right?
Yeah,
And so a lot of times with some of the sites today, at least, like TJ said, it's not like we build sites that can only last for 2 years. I think what you should think about is just because you made your homepage look that way right now and you use this certain image and this box and this call to action or whatever, is can that stay the same for 2 years or should you be changing it on a constant basis? That may seem a little overwhelming, right? Especially as a business owner, it's like I just got the thing built, let it do its job. I don't want to touch it again for 5 years. That's fine, but it's actually not when we're talking about really maximizing every dollar spent in marketing, right? Because
true.
all these different channels, we're sending people to that homepage or a different landing page on the site for it. Um, you may run a social media campaign and you're like, it didn't do anything for us. And you may run some search engine optimization. And you're like, that did some work for us. So let's just cut the social media ads out. It could just be that the landing page you sent them to, it didn't resonate, or your call to action was in the wrong spot or something. So you want to work on both ends, not just your marketing channel, but look at the website too and think about if it's doing its job, right? Just
Yeah,
because you have a website you built a few years ago and now you're like, I'm ready for marketing. Half the time someone comes to me just for marketing, I go to back to the website first. I'm like, this needs to be worked on or fixed up first.
right.
So not to dive too deep into like web design practices, but it's important to think about that too. And we're talking about which channel has brought us the most leads. You
Yeah,
could have a bit of a false negative there
yeah,
if you're not focused on the website too.
yeah,
Uh,
100%. When someone comes to us and they say something like, I need a brochure.
yeah,
My products are not, not selling. I need a brochure to help leave behind that type thing, or
right.
a landing page or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
we look at their branding in
Hmm.
the website to get a feel of, what does that say? And so many times you'll see someone try to maybe get too clever for their own good.
Yeah.
They've turned their business into an acronym that no one knows what it is outside the business,
Hmm.
or they haven't touched it in 5 years or whatever, that the homepage is just out of date. And so
Right.
I think from a standpoint of from Google, they want to see you active. And I'll just use
True.
business profile as an example. People's eyebrows shoot up when I say they want to see you active on a weekly basis.
Right.
Buy maybe on a monthly basis, but it
Hmm.
really reward you if you are active weekly on your profile updates.
Yeah.
And that's usually something that people do not think about when they
Right.
launch their site. Like you said, they want to launch it. It was a big investment. I don't want to
Yeah.
send another penny toward it.
Yeah, exactly.
Think
Yeah.
of
Or
it as
time. Yeah.
you just bought a piece of equipment to, like haul like a dump truck. You would
Right.
say, okay, I just bought this dump truck. I'm gonna park it over here and I'm
Yeah.
gonna touch it because it was super expensive. Well,
Right.
the point of that is to haul things. That would make you money, right? Your
Yep.
website should be looked at as something that's frozen in time. It's a tool.
Yep.
And so after you
100%.
build it, use it. And then if it doesn't say the right things, change it.
Right.
Because your
Right.
audience may change over time, but you might sell uh, uh, communication radios
Yeah.
here, but you might
Yeah.
go into repeaters and radios and bundles 2 years
Yep.
from now.
Yep.
So I think that sometimes people get into the habit of I I got coerced into doing social or email campaign or a website,
Right.
and now I really don't want to change it because it was expensive and I didn't
Yeah.
want to in the first place.
Right. Right.
So that might bring
Yeah.
us a good thing
100%.
into the next one, the automate stuff. I
Yeah.
put this in here. Do you do a fair amount of automation?
Um, you know, I depends on what type of automation we're talking about. So to me, I can only automate so much like strategy. To me, I cannot automate a lot of strategy. That just takes time and research, and you gotta put your brainstorming cap on and close the doors for a couple hours. What I can automate is at least content generation. Once you have your strategy in place, content generation can be automated. Some email response can be.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I only use automation as a tool. I still use a lot of strategy for most things. I think you've actually been doing more automation, right?
We
I've
have.
seen some of the stuff you've done, and it's something I want to get into more, but I have not actually.
Yeah, so we and we want to make sure we differentiate AI from automation. So
Right.
automation. So we've been kind of just training in make.com. It's like
Okay.
Zapier.
Okay.
And just seeing where we could use that to streamline as many processes that make sense.
Right.
Some things, and we would never, like, say we do something that creates content. We never say, all right, AI, you did a great job, copy,
Yeah.
post. We
Right.
take that into, like, say, Grammarly, and then edit that there, and then read through
Yeah.
that from a human standpoint and kind of change it.
Yep.
But
Yep.
make.com does a great job of uh, helping us streamline some tasks, and we're trying to do that more and more. And I think
Okay.
that that's what you see. I think when AI, the chat and them were doing like AI bots, I think they
Right.
want to stack what they call agents. And so, finding a way for us to, you'll never be able to get to a spot that, at least I don't think so, you feel comfortable and say, hey, Jarvis, go find me 30 leads that you know that I
Right.
want.
Yeah.
There may be a process that we can pass that through from an automation standpoint to help
Right.
narrow stuff. And I think that's
Yeah.
where automated tasks have been benefiting us is
Yeah.
in narrowing a bunch of resources into something
Yeah.
that we can sift through personally to see if what works for us. And
Yeah.
so make.com has been a nice
Okay.
tool, I think.
Okay. Okay. I have been working on, I just got my Salesforce certificates for like Salesforce administration and
Yeah.
consulting. So I'm using Salesforce now. I haven't been able to launch it into play yet, but working on automating operations internally for sure. That definitely helps me. I mean, that's a whole nother, ballpark of work and strategy is automating your business operations if you can.
Yeah,
Uh, so, and that's going to depend on where you are as a business owner too. If you're, if it's just you or just you and a couple people, or if you have maybe a more established business and you already have like 15, 40 employees,
sure.
you're probably going to hire someone to do something like Salesforce. And those work with like Zapier and make.com and all that type
Yeah.
of stuff. So I have been getting more into that. But from the website design or like marketing side of it, it's more just using tools to help automate what we can.
Right. And every time if you looked at, say, maybe TikTok, and
Yeah.
everybody on there are basically millionaires except me, apparently, because everybody just shows like, oh, you just do this and
Yeah.
figures a month and that kind of thing. And so
Yeah. Yeah.
I just haven't been able to click that to do that.
Yeah.
We still kind of do a lot of this a little bit of the old-fashioned way, in the sense of
Yeah.
speaking with our clients, determining their needs and goals, and then spending time being creative. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, while we are a digital marketing company, we are creative
Yep.
professionals. And
Right.
I think that's what separates some of the performance of Google Ads,
Yeah.
social posts, website performance, all this kind of stuff. Is you
Right.
can
Right.
see that, and if you do this long enough, a lot of people say the same things on every different website,
Yep.
especially with the regurgitation of AI.
It's true.
Because
Yeah.
AI is not generating anything new. It's a language
Yep.
model that brings in existing stuff. And
Right.
if you use that and someone else uses that something similar, you
Yeah.
find that you don't really stand out very much to each other. And
Right. Right.
I do think that using automation where it makes sense, but still really investing in your business from marketing, creative, kind of entrepreneur
Yeah.
is will never go out of style.
Right. No, 100%. It won't. And again, I tell people that all the time too. These are just tools. They're not taking over your entire
Right.
system. They can't because it's like you said, it's a language model that's taking things that already exist. It's not coming up with new things. It can help you. And
Sure.
if you educate yourself in how to best use tools, again, working smarter, not harder, that'll save you time and money in the long run. There are ways to use it, but it's not a freebie like here, just plug this in and we'll start making money. You're still
Right.
gonna have to work. All those TikTok videos that say that, unfortunately it's not true. One thing that I have been hearing lately, and I do agree with it, is that uh buyers or customers today, they're leaning more into personal brands are you know, companies, people are trusting companies less and less. I think they're trusting agencies like ours more so because you're smaller. They get to talk to TJ, they get to talk to Josh, or maybe a couple of other team members. A big thing that we've been seeing, I think, in the market lately, especially after kind of the Instagram influencer boom and all this stuff, we're seeing people they want quality content, not just this quick fixes, quick money, like get rich fast schemes.
Sure.
We've kind of moved past that now. People want to see and work with someone who knows what they're doing, who can give them personal attention, and someone they can trust instead of just like a company or a bunch of social posts.
Sure.
So to me, that's encouraging in this world of, a lot of people are kind of scared of AI too, or we're never going to be able to people call me and ask me to work on their website, and they're like, I don't know anything about any of this stuff. I just need somebody to do it for me. I would encourage you to lean into it a little bit. It's not going anywhere. This is how you're going to make money. It's going to be online for the
Sure.
foreseeable future. And AI is not going to ruin that for you. It's just supposed to make it easier for you. So lean into it and start testing and educating yourself on it. That would be my kind of encouragement on that side of it as well.
100%. And I would say that, if you have developed your website with the agency or even internally, that you've done it
Yeah,
with your own staff that knows what
sure.
they're doing and have done it well, we have to reinvest those wins. Take
Yep.
that right there, stand on that, and utilize your website That's why you
Right.
build it, right? And so we have a client that we did their website for them years ago, and they're in they place executives. And
Okay.
like they're the only client we've ever run across, and we've gone on almost 19 years. Uh,
Okay.
and even before I started our business, he's like, I never used my website as a marketing tool. I'm like,
Hmm.
this is like this is like getting business cards and then
Right.
in your backyard.
Yeah.
Or this is a restaurant that never opens. I don't understand that concept of not
Right.
using your. Well, my clients are not, looking for us here. It's like, well, that's because maybe they can't find you. And
Right.
so I think, there was a time when business cards, that was the thing, right? Then
Yeah.
business cards were not enough. And then websites became the thing too, right? But
Yep.
having a website is not enough. Using and growing
Exactly.
site as the marketing tool that it is
Yeah.
how you stack wins and then reinvest wins when
Yeah.
you invested in that. You wouldn't buy a car and not use it, hopefully.
Yep.
Buy
Yep.
a car to use it.
Yeah. I loved your analogy of the like buying a tool or a dump truck for your business, right? You don't buy it and just park it. It's the same thing with the website. It is a tool.
Yep.
All of these things are just tools and they can be a little overwhelming,
Yep.
but really at the end of the day, you're just figuring out which tool works best to get the job done for you and reinvest in that for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Now you have some great things here, some low budget marketing ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. So just because we've been we said that we're assuming we have like $1,000 per month to work on. So I have just a few different marketing ideas that I explain to or pitch to a lot of my customers. When you literally you can have a $0 budget or $1,000 budget. So I'll break down a few of these real quick. Obviously, a $0 budget means that you're going to do this yourself,
Right.
right? So I'm a big advocate for telling people you can hire me to do it, or I encourage you to learn how to do it yourself. Okay. We all I started my business with a $0 marketing budget, right? I taught
It
myself
was just me.
everything I know. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying I had to spend years learning things until I got good enough to do it myself. So some of
Sure.
these things you can learn how to do it yourself. It can be a $0 budget, or you can pay someone for it.
Mhm.
But the most affordable lead generation tool for service providers, right? Again, probably not products or a social media campaign. As a service provider, like a contractor, lowest budget thing you can use to start getting leads is organic SEO, in my opinion. Because if you can learn how to do it yourself, great. Or if you hire an agency, the difference is when you're working on organic SEO, you're not paying for Google ads. When you Google something, there's going to be at the very top of Google, there's a few sponsored ads, and then below it is the organic results. So
Mhm.
you can work on your website and think about keywords or different phrases that someone would type into Google, and they can be topic based. It doesn't just have to be your specific service. Um, so, for example, if I'm a landscaper, my keyword doesn't just have to be landscapers or lawn services in Missoula, Montana. You could write an article that talks about landscaping tips or like ideas for um, planting bushes around the front of your house. That can be a long tail or kind of topic based key phrase that you can get your site to rank for, and you'll start getting leads that way too. So think outside the box, think about some different key phrases or topics you could talk about on your site, and either have an agency work on that for you or do it yourself. Long tail keywords and organic SEO is going to be most affordable. Usually you can get some kind of SEO done for less than $1,000 a month. Um,
What I love about organic SEO
yeah.
is like, say you were doing Google ads
Hmm.
and you're like, you know what, yeah, we're doing our monthly budget, but all of a sudden the economy kind of slows down a little bit, the sales are not
Yep.
coming in, and you had to stop that or lower your budget.
Exactly.
Um, that sometimes, you have to stop that. Your budget tells you that. But if you did your organic SEO, that's working 24/7.
Yeah,
Whether your Google ads are running or not, your organic SEO is always there. And I
exactly.
love
Yeah.
starting there and building outward because
Yep.
you have control over that.
Yep.
You may come across like, $1,000 a month on your Google ads kind of thing, and that's
Yeah.
working well. And then all of a sudden your competition says, wow, we need more business. We're going to go to
Yeah. They
$2,000.
start spending 1,500. Yeah.
Right,
Or
exactly.
2,000.
And
Yeah.
so, but your organic SEO, uh, yes, your competitor can look at, that same thing and say, well, we're going to do organic SEO too. We say the same,
Yep.
but you have control over that. And you can kind of like Josh said,
Yeah.
blog article about some topic, that really helps grow your rankings through
Right.
content points like that. So I love that point of organic SEO.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. TJ, let me pause 1 second if
Yeah,
you don't mind. I gotta put this dog outside. So can
sure.
we just and then
Yeah.
clap again? And then we can just do you just want to finish this real quick? And then I think we might finish that segment in like
Yeah.
15 minutes,
Yeah,
probably.
I think
What do
so.
you think? Okay, let me just put her outside and I'll be right
Sure.
back. Video. And I just had to watch her pee. I was like, gosh dang it. Yeah, I couldn't cut him off or anything. I'm just like trying to close the sale. I was like on the last 5 minutes.
Right, right. Hang on. Oh, okay, there
I'm
you
just
go.
like, ah, whatever. I'm just gonna let the dog, I'll just clean it up.
All right, let's do this here.
Yeah. All right. Um, yeah, so Google organic SEO, I love to call it passive lead generation
Mm,
because of what you said. We Whenever you're most marketing channels, you're paying for it somehow. Now I know, with organic SEO, you might be paying an agency or somebody to do it, but literally, as far as like actual lead generation, every other type of marketing, you're really paying per lead.
mm.
Um, like Google ads and Facebook ads or billboards or flyers or anything like that. I think organic SEO is probably one of the few forms of actual passive leads,
Yeah,
meaning you're not paying every time somebody clicks on it. Sure, you're spending time, but anyways, I always like to explain it that way because I think a lot of people don't realize it is one of the few forms of passive leads.
yeah, it's a great technique, and I don't think, every time we run across a website that someone's coming to us to help with, they fall into a trap of, well, I got a couple of sentences on
Right.
a page, or if they are a visual piece,
Hmm.
it's all images and there's no text on the page. And
Right.
so, showing them the power of, there's a reason why content was always called king, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what people are searching for. When people search for something, Google is connecting it with content on your website and
Yep.
delivering your page to them to review. And so,
Exactly.
spending time doing it. Now, we do one-time SEO sometimes, and some we do ongoing because
Yep.
sometimes it's the size of the site, or as we build more content like blogs
Yeah.
or city pages or landing pages or whatever, uh,
Yep.
more SEO is needed for those things. But
Exactly.
once you do, like, say you hit a website for like, it's 15 pages and you did say 10 pages of SEO, unless you're looking to maybe add to that page, that organic work is done and will now benefit you on an
Yep.
ongoing basis. And
Yeah.
I think it's a
Yeah.
very underutilized lead generator.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people say like SEO is dead. You'll see like a lot of that's like a popular YouTube channel. A lot of YouTube channels are like SEO is dead and this and that. That's just not true, and I don't think it will be for a long time. Google still highly prioritizes organic SEO. If you read the reports and actual like um, you know, press releases from Google about organic SEO, they have they're spending tons of money on improving their algorithm and continuing to put a lot of effort into organic SEO. So it's not going anywhere
No,
anytime soon.
no.
Um, so again, talking about trying to spend around $1,000 or less per month with our budget here. Organic SEO, probably one of the easier ways to do that. You can still do it with Google ads, and Facebook/Instagram ads, or really any kind of social media channel. And we talked about this a few minutes ago. Facebook Facebook's cost per click is generally lower than Google. So even if, let's say you've done organic SEO, or maybe you can't right now, or that's not where your audience is, and you're trying to decide whether you should run like Google ads or Facebook ads, because with Google ads, there are also display ads. You can have like a little banner show up on like news websites. You can do you Technically Google ads are YouTube ads. You can do a video YouTube
Right.
ad, some of that stuff. It's always going to be a little more expensive. Google just knows that the users there have higher intent usually.
Right.
So if you're finding that for whatever reason, competition level, service type of product, it's Google's just kind of out of your price range right now. You can do something with Facebook or LinkedIn and X, those they're you get a lot more impressions for less money per click, or less money per impression on those platforms. And that can be a good or bad thing. Again, it depends on all these other things we've talked about today.
Yeah.
But it is cheaper. So when I talk to someone who has a budget of 1,000 or less, I tell them just realistically, if you're going to do any kind of ads, whether they're Google or Facebook, you gotta allocate at least half, at least 500 to 600 to the ad spend budget itself.
Yeah.
Um, you can add that it can be all of it, but I would say if you're trying to, if you need to pay an agency, or you're paying somebody on your team or whatever it is, and $1,000 is all you have, you're gonna just have to accept the fact that you need at least $500 going towards ad spend. I wouldn't even if there's an option to spend $200 a month, I wouldn't even do that. If you're spending $200 a month on Facebook ads, just don't. Just save that money. Do something else. Work on your organic Facebook posts. Go buy a course on SEO and learn it. Your money will be better spent that way.
Yeah.
Um, I would say really anything less than 500 is just not even worth pumping out there. What do you think, TJ? I mean, that's just been my
Yeah.
experience with
I
it.
think that what tends to happen is that people may not know uh,
Hmm.
what it costs to compete with other other customers, right? Other
Yeah,
competitors.
yeah,
And they go in with a preconceived notion of, well, I'm going to do this, or this is all I have a budget for. And so I
right,
think finding a professional that and will be honest with you and say, well, maybe this is not the right platform for
r-
you
right,
because of this reason, or because your competitors are spending so much more. And so you're going to be wasting your money if you do get in here and just do $200 a month.
right.
Not going to get you anything, and you're going to become frustrated, and then you're going to blame either the platform or us and say, well, we're
Yeah,
not getting the sales that we thought we could get.
right,
So
right,
I think it's important to know or have someone help you do research and discover what it costs to compete in that area, and
right.
make a decision, can you do that or not? And then also, I think people think that, well, if I start advertising, how rich am I going to be after the first month?
Hmm.
Sometimes these things take 12, 18 months or longer for you to get enough traction to say, I feel like my advertising is now bringing in enough business to be a legitimate investment for me.
Right,
And no one
right.
wants to hear that. I get that. No one wants to
Yeah,
hear
yeah,
you need to put in some money for about 12 months, and you may not see enough return on it the first 6 months of that.
yeah.
That's not a great conversation to have, but I think it's an important one to have so that you can be honest with
Absolutely.
them, because then they may say, well, I don't want to do that. Is there another option? And then you can
Right.
talk about other options. But I
Yeah,
don't think, I mean, there may be some that have shorter ramps.
right.
I think any platform is going to require some time and some effort and some money
Yeah.
to grow on. Because if just think if it was is simple enough to invest $200 and you'd make $1,000, well, it would be already done. By the time you showed up, that was what's been done. Now it's going to cost more to do that same thing. So
Right.
this is why you hear people talk about the golden age of platforms, like when TikTok first came out or Facebook first came out, like you said,
Right.
you'd post and most of your audience would
Would
see.
see it. Yep.
Now it's like 2% or less of your
Right.
current audience.
Yep.
So
It's
they
true.
make these things pay to play.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think when people go into that understanding that there's going to be a cost,
Yep.
probably more than you want to spend, and it's
Yeah.
going to require them longer than you want to do it,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
make a decision from that.
Yeah. I've heard this and I'm probably quoting it wrong. So, but it's something along the lines of using email campaigns as an example. If 100% of your email subscribers get the email that you send out, uh, 30% will open it,
Yep.
5% will click through to the website, and 1% or 0.5% will purchase from there.
Right.
So when you think about it that way, that's emails, but that I would say that that translates to most ads to at least not Google. Google, because the high intent is there, I would say those percentages are higher. It's never like 100% though. It's, you may use 70% click through rate, maybe 50% stay on the page and then 20% buy. And that's only because on Google they were already looking for that
Right.
service or product. Emails, social media, LinkedIn, anything like that, you gotta just accept the fact that you have to pump out a lot more and over time because those percentages are so low of click-through rate, time spent on site, and then actual purchase or decision making conversion. Um, so one of the things if you can't afford to do any of that. If you can't afford to spend $500 on the ads, then there is still hope. I know we've kind of been beaten
There is
down.
hope.
Yeah, I know we've been kind of beaten down like Facebook's organic posts and whatnot, but you can still engage with and get your posts in front of your audience and new audiences even
Yeah.
organically. It just takes time. So you're either going to have it really takes a lot of time. You're either going to have someone on your team willing to do it, or you need to lean into it yourself as the business owner.
Yeah.
Because with Facebook posts or Instagram posts or TikTok, really any of these kind, hashtags do still work. Interacting with other accounts and posts, posting in different groups, like on LinkedIn, there's different groups you can post in. On Facebook, there's
Right.
different groups that are show interest in similar topics. The more you have to actually engage. You can't just post and expect
Sure.
feedback or expect engagement. So if you're engaging, spend time researching other accounts like yours, see what their content strategy is like, see what they collaborate with, where they're posting, that type of thing. You can spend time doing that, and that's another $0 budget marketing idea is leaning into organic Facebook marketing. Um,
I have
so
a
so
great
organic, yeah.
I have a
Sorry.
great chart here that might reinforce that. So
Okay, yeah.
this came from Stack Marketer.
Okay.
They were doing something, and this came from their source was Digital Zone, and it talks
Mm,
about the number of times, this is for B2B buyers, need to see a brand before taking them seriously. We're
hmm
talking about right now, we're going to be talking about B2B or B2C.
Right.
This just does shed a light. So 47% of your audience of 100 needs to see something 1 to 2 times before they
Take you seriously.
get
Yeah.
serious. 35%, 3 to 5 times. And then it drops like 7% takes 6 to 10, 3% takes 11 to 20, and the final 7% take more than 20 times. And I
Wow.
mention that because, that first two groups feels like in our world, like, well, that could be existing clients or warm leads.
Right.
The other part of that might be cold leads or people that they may be following us or just not engaged. You can see based off of that graph, sometimes 11 to 20 times or more
Right.
or they take action. And
Yeah.
so as you can see what Josh was talking about that or organic Facebook piece, these things take time. And if you have to go
Right.
comment on other groups, not in a
Yeah.
salesy way, but just like
Right.
comment in a beneficial way,
Yep. Yep.
all those things take time.
Right.
Organic is going to take time.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to share that kind of thing because I think setting expectations is probably one of the biggest things we can do for ourselves because
Right.
you know that it takes X, Y, Z to get there.
Right.
Be less anxious, like TJ,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
say, why am I not doing this yet? That kind
Right,
of thing.
right.
So,
Yeah. No, no, and that's the thing. That's why I love doing stuff like what we're doing today, just talking through these things and making a podcast for our customers and audience base because um, you know, it's so easy for people to think you have to have everything and do everything all at once. If I can do a better job of educating you, who's listening, and we can take the time to explain these things and help you know that you don't have to spread yourself so thin. You don't have to have this huge budget which you may or may not. Obviously, everything we've talked about, a lot of those, especially in the first segment, a lot of those initial questions, like what are your priorities and which channel is going to work best for you, will really determine. You may have stepped into a model, hopefully not a business model where it's so competitive you can't get away with having less than $1,000 ad spend.
but
And that may be just the reality, but I don't want to discourage people from bootstrapping and starting from scratch, having a low budget. It's not impossible. You have to be strategic about what you do and spend time researching these things. Talk to someone like myself or TJ and just get on the right track, picking the right channel of marketing for you.
yeah, I think being consistent, because I think this is a true statement that no one does everything well. And,
Yeah,
and rarely does someone do everything they should. And
right.
so if you start to slowly work through a list of things that you should be doing and do
Hmm.
it well, because I think it'll pay off because for those out there who are paying their way to the top, won't always be able to afford to do that. And
Right.
they fall off. That's why you'll see XYZ company
Yeah.
sponsored at say 10 a.m. on a
Right.
result and someone else at 2 p.m. because they've blown through their budget
Yeah.
day and they'll rotate off and they'll be back the next day.
Yep.
Whereas if you spend time working on your organic, uh, picking your fights, being
Right.
consistent, I think that you will bubble to the top when they rotate off, you're still there.
Yeah, 100%. Yep, yep. So both TJ and I are huge fans of organic SEO and organic social media. So the intent here was not to just belittle those and only talk about ad spend, but just when we're talking about having some kind of spend budget,
Sure.
naturally ads are going to come into that. So we've talked through that, but then there's all their ways, you know. And again, that $1,000 a month, a lot of times you can find someone to manage organic SEO or Facebook posts for less than 1,000. So if that's how you want to
Sure.
spend your money, awesome. Just do it from a position of knowledge and not just thinking we have to because everybody says you're supposed to do social media or everybody says we're supposed to do Google ads.
Right. Don't do it reluctantly, do it strategically.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Let's see what else on our list here before we move into our spend time here. Last one we have is email campaigns. That's a great one that we do a ton of email marketing, and I think people get enamored with. I have a 40,000 email list, and I can't tell you the number of times I've been in a group meeting and someone will show up and say, like, oh yeah. I need to start, we need to do an email list or an email campaign. I need to start building a list. And someone else will say, well, I have a list of 40,000 people I can give you to start with. Like,
Yeah.
That's not your audience. All that
Right.
will do is cause you to get blacklisted because there's so many spam results.
Yeah.
Don't do
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Yeah.
Spend time building your email list slowly over time. And then
Yep.
second thing is to scrub that list, make sure that it's active, it's full of
Right.
active people, and then
Right.
segment that list and speak to each segment specifically. And so
Yeah.
we're a big fan
Yeah.
of email marketing.
Oh yeah, in email marketing, probably aside from, whatever it takes to build that list or curate it from an actual cost basis to run email campaigns, very, very low
Yeah,
expense compared to
sure.
most things too. So again, a kind of it's technically a $0 budget, marketing budget kind of thing, but that's assuming you've maybe spent time or marketing money on building a list with a different strategy.
I went through and got certified with MailChimp a couple of years
Yeah,
ago, and I mean, they put you through the ringer. I mean,
yeah.
so I was like, I've been emailing them for a long time. I got in there and I'm like, oh, okay.
They got
And
a
so
whole
I came
series.
out of there. I'm like, man, I'm glad I went and did that as hard as that was. Uh, because it helps set, like I said, expectations, and so
Yeah,
when you go there and it's not just a matter of, well, I'm just, I got someone's email, I'm gonna email them.
right.
It doesn't take much. I think the MailChimp I think it's 0.4 percent on a spam percentage before they will block your account and reach out to you and say, what are you doing? And so,
Interesting. Yeah,
and also, we've seen people try to send their email campaigns through their Google email. So,
right,
let's talk about the differences of email in general here. Your personal email, like through your Gmail account or whatever AOL, if it's still people out there doing that, uh,
right.
is different than sending email campaigns through a delivery system like HubSpot or MailChimp, MailerLite, Constant Contact. Uh, these organizations are geared and approved to send out large groups of emails, whereas your personal email is not. I think Google has a limit of, I don't know, say three,
Yeah,
500 a day.
sure.
After
Something like that.
that,
I'm sure.
you tend
Yeah,
to get up in a block or a blacklisted. So it's important to know that you can't just send out through your personal email.
right.
If you get blacklisted, that does take time to get off that list.
Yep, that's true. 100%. Yeah, so definitely, you need a professional business email. So either through your like domain register or something like Google Workspace or Microsoft. And then yeah, MailChimp is great. Constant Contact is great. Um, I use MailChimp, TJ uses MailChimp. There's a few others out there too, but
Yep.
that'll protect you from, blacklisting your own email address for sure. Definitely invest in that. And MailChimp's super affordable too. I think it's free up to a certain amount of subscribers. Um,
It is. If
and
you have a larger
then
list, I would
yeah.
look at some options like, so we run a nonprofit and we were, we switched from MailChimp to MailerLite. It was a little bit cheaper
Okay.
for
Yeah.
us there. Still did a good job, but when you're comparing apples and apples, I do think that MailChimp uh, is more robust and
Yeah.
why it's a little bit more pricey. But there are some that are much more than that, like Klaviyo, that really gets pricey. So,
Right.
pick one that fits your price point.
Yep.
That's why it's important to scrub your list because if you have a 10,000 person list, but 75% of it is not engaging, not there anymore, bouncing, you're just paying for pretty much a dead list.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. So it can, again, like with some of these other mediums or channels, you can either be wasting money on it or
Mm.
you can, again, work smarter, not harder. Clean that list, make sure you're not just blasting stuff and wasting your time and money.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this goes great segue to our last part of this segment is
Yeah.
how we spend our time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you said we're looking at doubling down on our content, what content resonates most with our audience. I think, strategic, good, organic SEO on your content, your web page content
Right.
Blogs are a phenomenal way to create touch points.
Yep.
Videos outperform static like 86% better. And then as we're doing with this right here, you'll see you won't get just chance to see this kind of face, long tail content.
Yeah.
You'll show up, this ball guy will show up in short form content as well. And so doing things like
True.
Reels and TikTok videos in short segments is a great way to repurpose content. So
It's true. Yeah. Absolutely. And same thing with, writing. So blogs, you'll be able to repurpose that content. You can take short snippets of it. You can send it along with your product or services to clients, blogs, videos like this. They're a great way to duplicate yourself. So you're not having to say the same things over and over again. You probably still will, but it's just how things go. But you can use any type of content is just compounding interest for you in the long run. You'll either, even if it's older content, you'll be able to rewrite it. You'll have something to start with.
yeah,
Maybe there's new information about that subject you can add to it.
yeah.
So yeah, spending your time and not money, definitely content and strategy. I agree with that for sure. And then, even we kind of touched on this a few minutes ago when we were talking about the organic Facebook posts. Don't just post, engage, meaning go comment on other accounts and see who else you could collaborate with, right? If you can collaborate with another account that has more followers and they can get you shared or talk about you, you could immediately see results from that. And that's free usually.
Yeah.
Um, to do. So,
One of our clients does some influencer marketing, and
okay.
it's always dicey. I think that influencers, I mean, and I say quote unquote influencers, everybody
Right.
thinks there's an influencer, right? They get pricey quick, but
Yeah.
some, when they really mention a product, can really move that product.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's weird to see that because we think that, well, how much can, John Doe mentioning
Yeah. This or
my
that
sort of
do.
screwdriver is really going to do it.
Right.
This person, every time they get their product mentioned, it just like spikes. And
Oh yeah. Yeah.
so they pay a
I
pretty,
mean, I got this shirt from a company because somebody mentioned it on Instagram, somebody I was following. And so I mean it does work. Like you see something you like and you're wondering where they got it from or whatever. And
yeah,
so yeah, influencer marketing. You'd be surprised too how many people are willing to collaborate for free too, though.
yeah,
And
oh, yeah.
it always depends on your industry or type of business, but you'll find that a lot of people are happy to share and collaborate with you.
Yeah, I think, and that leads us to like say being active in communities. So this
Right.
past year, I joined a local chamber,
Okay. Yeah.
offline a little bit, joined chamber. And
Yeah.
I've been to a couple of them because it's maybe a little bit further away from our studio. Been to a couple of them. And then I reached out to a gentleman on the other side of town that was kind of like a chamber, but didn't have dues, didn't have, some of the structure that a chamber may. But that right there has already clicked more from a connection standpoint. So to your point of
Right.
paying has its place, but there are still people out there who want to connect in a network
Right.
free, and you both can benefit from that. And so
Right.
I would definitely stay active in communities, giving good, beneficial uh,
Yep.
input on things, and then
Yeah.
also ask questions and be open to be taught. I mean,
Yep.
we don't know everything, so get in there. And I'll use a very weird example. My son and I just got back into collecting LPs.
Okay.
Bought a
Yeah.
phonograph player recently, a record player, and so I joined a couple of vinyl groups.
Nice.
I grew up with listening to vinyl, but it's been, a 40-year gap, and all of a sudden now we're like, back into it. So
Right.
much
Right.
has changed. Now I'm like asking questions, getting feedback. And I think if we do that in our own industry,
Right.
I think natural networking occurs.
It does. And I've been doing the same thing really just the last year. There's a young entrepreneurs group here where I live, and they meet once a month, and they have different businesses in the area host the event all the time. So you get to go meet, like one of our banks did it, and one of the jewelry stores did it, and one of the software firms did it. Or actually, if you're into hunting at all, the Onyx app that you use for mapping out hunts and stuff, there headquarters are here in Missoula, and they
Uh,
hosted it. So it's been really cool way to meet. You meet awesome business owners, and they do a whole presentation on their business and how it started and how it runs. But you also engage with other people, and you don't. Not everything is online, even though
sure.
most of my life is spent online.
Sure, I get that, and all of
Yeah.
our work is mostly online. It
Right.
didn't always that way. I cut my teeth in production and pre-press. Back
Yeah.
old school press checks and printing and stuff, but
Sure.
digital has taken over, and so our last thing here is review and refocus. Like
Yeah.
time-consuming tasks aren't moving the needle. I think that's something that I would challenge everybody to look at,
Hmm.
as you kind of listen to this podcast and think about some of the things you're doing.
Right.
Then finding someone that's trustworthy, internally or externally of your business, to have a conversation with, an honest one,
Yeah.
about what can we do. And
Yeah.
we're doing this and it's not moving the needle. What can
Right.
we do? What should we do?
Right. Yep. Yep. 100%. I'll just say this real quickly. All these different channels and tools we've been talking about using, they all have their own, uh, insights and reporting systems and different KPIs and different. So you can sometimes get just too sucked into that, right? Like just because we got more impressions this month than last month, that doesn't always mean that that's moving the needle. Nothing beats on the ground real results, right? And ask your clients where did they find you? Okay, so focusing on real results on the ground, you can obviously those reporting systems and all that data is important, and it'll give you really good insight into whether or not those dollars are working for you well.
Right?
But at the same time, sometimes you can just either over analyze those or under analyze them. Really think about what's moving the needle for yourself and for sales. I've been starting to keep more of a daily planner than I usually do everything digitally, but it's kind of helped like actually writing down goals and getting it out of your mind and onto paper.
Mhm.
So I recommend doing that and then try to cut tasks or channels that are not performing. And sometimes you may think that you don't want to give up something, but in the long run, it'll be better for the rest of your investments.
Oh, sure, sure.
Yeah,
We're a culture of we want to stay busy, stay
right.
engaged and entertained,
Yeah,
and that has resulted in a 7-second attention span. And so
yep,
I think it's important to sometimes go offline
yeah,
and think through some of the things that you are considering,
yep,
and kind of refocus,
yeah,
because uh, I think, as you probably can tell, you can probably go find anything to back up your point of view online. As
yep.
crazy as
True, true.
kangaroos that professional boxers, you probably can find something around that. So I think
Yeah,
it's important to um, take some time off from just online. Go
yeah,
read a book,
yeah,
have coffee with someone, talk about some things, some best
yep,
practices kind of thing, experiences, because
yeah.
there's probably some things that, as we only stay online, we do ourselves a disservice of not experiencing something elsewhere that probably be beneficial. So
Yep,
that's why
100%.
going to meet those people, like you said, that you're at
Yeah,
different locations, has
yeah.
been such a big deal that it takes us offline and actually communicate with people.
It's
It's
true. Yeah.
a lost
Yeah,
art.
100%. 100%. Yeah. And again, just all those insights and the data and everything, while it's important, just because something's showing high clicks, high click through, lots of impressions, if the sales aren't coming from it, just cut it, move the money somewhere else. It doesn't always mean that you should keep it there. Or if I love this quote that you have on here. This success comes from knowing when to invest money for quick wins and when to invest time to build lasting value, or money for lasting value also. Um, in some cases, maybe that ad campaign should keep running, but in others, you might just need to cut it.
Yeah.
So depending on the goal and your strategy, of course.
Yeah, unfortunately, only constant is change, and
Yeah.
it's it's just the nature of, especially if you're online, it's going to change often and probably faster than you want. I see that, that curve that used to be. I was reading a book and it says, there was a time when innovation, like, oh, well, we don't have the tools to do this here. It'll in 30 years we'll probably have that. Now that stuff in 30 years has shrunk
It's
down
happening in
to
like
about six to
six
eight
months.
months is where we've been. And so that curve is just going to shot straight up on innovation.
Yeah.
So the more uh, you fight that, I think the more frustrated you're going to be with things that change. And I don't see change happening any slower in the
Right.
future than it is right now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. For sure.
Well, I think we're going to pause right there and probably end
Yep.
this podcast. We'll probably do another one of these in the future around some
Yeah.
other topics. But hopefully you've enjoyed some of the content we put together, and you'll see this a short form option, but also for those who are just have persevered through this whole thing.
Thank you for
Congratulations.
staying with us.
Congratulations. You stayed with us, and you're super awesome. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Josh, you have any
Exactly.
final words you want to say?
No, just appreciate your time, TJ. And I think of all the things that we've talked through here, um, going back to the beginning, everything we've gone through comes down to that setting your priorities first. So sit back, think about where you are at in your business. Customer retention is going to require a totally different strategy than new leads or brand awareness.
Yeah.
So start there, and if you're not sure, talk to one of us, and we'll help you out.
That sounds awesome. Well, guys, thank you for your time today, and we'll see you next time.
All right, thanks.